Hi, and welcome to part 2 of a 3-part tutorial where we just took a look at how to export a Maya asset for use in Substance Painter. Now, I'm by no means a master at this software, but I'm putting this tutorial together as a quick start guide for texturing an asset for use with the Unreal game engine. For starters, we're going to go over and go File, New, and make sure our template is set to PBR, Metal Rough, Algorithmic. There's a few other ones in the drop down here, but that's the one we need to use for Unreal Engine. Then we're going to go down and select a mesh, go to select, and we're going to select our sync from earlier. And then just go there and open that up. Make sure that our normal map is on DirectX. And then this is where we can set a document resolution. By default, it sets up to 1024, but this goes up to 4K, and I believe there's even an 8K option in beta. Now, this is going to be dependent a bit on what type of computer you're using, but my computer can handle up to 4K fairly easily, although this is going to slow down your time with it. We're going to use 2K for now, so switch it to 2048, and then we're going to press OK. Give it a moment, it's going to load it up, and right here we're going to be able to see our asset. This is the cabinet and the sink from earlier. We're going to be able to rotate around. I'm using Alt and middle mouse to pan, Alt left click to rotate, and Alt right click to zoom in and out. So first thing we're going to do here before we do anything else is go down to the center of our screen here. Make sure we're on texture settings. This is going to be a little bit hard to see, but texture set settings down here, and then go to additional maps down here and bake textures. We're going to have this menu that's going to pop up where we're going to want to go in and under here, high definition meshes, which you can select a high poly mesh to add details to if that's what you're working with, but for us we're just going to go back in here, grab our sync again, press open, and then bake all texture sets down at the bottom. Give it a moment to load. It's going to go through, it's going to give us a couple errors here, but that's nothing to be concerned about for us. It's just not finding those particular layer types. But what this is going to do is, if you look at our cabinet currently, it's a little smooth on the edges and it just sharpened up right there. So that kind of helps with ambient occlusion and a couple other bits of detail that just make it a little bit easier to work with. So now it's a little bit sharper. That's great. Okay, so now we've got capability to actually work with it. Let's go back to the shelf at the bottom here. Again, log, then back to shelf. And now we can start to add materials and textures. So where do you want to get these? There's actually a bunch of them already in here for materials. Some of these I've added in myself. Some of these were just built into it, as well as smart materials as well. But the easy way to do this is go up to the top left here, go to Substance and press this, go to Substance Share website, and this is going to open up a new tab, which we're going to have access to Substance Share. You can log in with your account, but go to the main menu and just kind of go around here and browse and see what type of materials and smart materials and things like that you might want. So I actually have ones that I found earlier that I'm going to open up here real quick, and we're going to have access to take a look at these for a moment. You go in here, just browse. As I said, I found this forest ground that I liked, which is going to be really helpful to see. There is some pretty cool stuff that you can do with this, and it's a very powerful tool. It shows how it bakes out all the different maps for it, all that kind of thing. Same thing with this damaged broken wall. These can be added to similarly this destructible wall. I downloaded this forest ground for use with us in a little bit here. Another place to grab assets from that I found out about was the one next to it, which is going to open up the substance source selection. And some of these are free assets or paid assets for different textures and materials, but there you've got some nice options here as well. So once you've got one of these, you're basically going to just go and drag it into the selection. So I've got my dirt that I had downloaded earlier, and go in here, go and grab this SBSAR file and copy it over, and we're going to get a pop-up here. It's going to ask us what it is. It's undefined. For this one, I'm not a master at this, but I'm just using it as a base material, and then put it to my current session, import it, and done. And now I've actually got it down here. So now I can drag this up to my layer and add the dirt as a layer. Now notice how it only added it to the top layer, or to the top of the cabinet, the top sink. So on the far right here, we've got selections for each of our UVs for each part of it. This is great that you can work with an object as a whole that's broken down into different parts and UV maps. Obviously, we don't necessarily want this dirt here, but I just want to use it as an example for us moving forward. So I've got this dirt here selected, and I can turn on and off. This is much like a layer system in Photoshop. I can also go down to the far right here and change how it's projecting onto this. So there's kind of two options that Substance uses, UV projection and triplanar projection. And triplanar does some interesting things where it tries to even out the corners so there's less of the line. You can still kind of see it in here, but it's not nearly as bad as it used to be. The only downside is in other sections of the model it might cause issues, like what kind of happens with some of the more linear models when I do it from UV here. So anyway, that's an option there. I'm going to delete this one, and we're going to go down and look for our cabinets, because that's where I want to do our majority of our work today. And let's go down to this wood and add, not that one. Let's see, go to my smart materials, wood walnut, and let's drag that one on. Yeah, and then do the same thing over for the drawers. There we go. Yeah, that's nice. Another couple things you can do, because if you notice it's really dark here, you can actually move around environments by dragging them in, but also going down and using Shift and right click to spin the lights around, so we can kind of see how the different light reacts off of this. And you can see it's a pretty matte material right there. And that's not too bad, at least for our purposes right now, because it's just going to be a wood, unfinished wood. But you can also drag in other ones here and see how that changes the lighting. Under the viewer settings down on the bottom left area here, you can kind of go in and change how visible that background is if you want to see it, to see exactly what areas of light are interacting off of that. But that's completely optional as well. Going back down to texture set settings and back in here, we've got our wood walnut, which is great, but I'm going to go in and add a new fill layer. And that fill layer is going to cover everything for the selection, but you can still see I've got my normals in here. So it's not covering up those normals, which is kind of helpful. Under this fill layer, I'm going to add I believe it's a black mask should work, and it'll even it out. But now we can go in and go to and add a generator. So we're going to right click on that and go to add generator under the black mask. Generator is going to pop up here. We can go over to this side and go to generator, and let's just add the edgeware, and then we can do the metal one. It's kind of nice, and see how that affects the model. So one of the things that we did with the baking, and so if this isn't working for you, make sure you baked your maps again, as I showed earlier. But what this is doing is it's kind of analyzing the model and finding out where all the little edges are and adding this edgeware detail. And the color is coming from the fill layer above here. So we can change this to whatever we want, and let's just make it something nice and obvious, like this horrible, horrible yellow color. But it's not only affecting those edges, it's also affecting the rest of it down here. And you can kind of go in here and do different opacity to it and everything else, but let's just work with this for the time being, because this is great. Let's just say this is what we want to have, is this yellow outline on our wood finish. So, after we're done with this, we can also look through different things to project or add on here. So, for example, I want to make a new, go to my new layer here, and I want to go to, let's see, let's add a sign of a dog here. A couple other things as well to look into is you can adjust brush size with Control right mouse button to adjust this in and out, and also go back to my, let's see, materials, and let's add this brass. Let's make it, no. We'll make this damaged tile. Why not? So we can go in here and just use this to project with a click and have that lovely symbol painted right on there. And these are all sorts of things under these procedural and textures, grunges, and projection stuff. So there's a lot of different things in here for whatever you might want. But say we've got this and we're all done and we're happy with it. We want to export this out to Unreal. So go to File, Export Textures, and then use the, under here we're going to get this pop-up, and we're going to want to do Configuration, go down and scroll down all the way towards the bottom, and you're going to get Unreal Engine 4 packed. Then you want to choose a place to save this to. So we're going to save this over to my tutorial area where my sync is already. Select that folder. We're going to just work with what we have here. The document size is 2048 each one, and export those out. Give that a moment to think, and it will give you an option to open up the folder in just a moment. Here we go, open folder, and we can see all of the different ones that it's spat out for us. We've got base color, normals, and metallic. Roughness occlusion pass, which Unreal will be able to break down further for us for each layer of that. And that's what you need to get started. Next thing we're going to do is import this into Unreal. I'll see you there. Bye.